So let's begin by offering our respects to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Jai.
Okay, so what did we see in the previous class? Which chapter are we on?
13th.
Not yet 13th.
12.
Yeah, we are on chapter number 12. So, and what is the title of chapter 12?
Devotional service.
Devotional service. Okay, so what did we see in that chapter?
We saw how Krishna went step by step that how you can, if you cannot do bhakti yoga, then you can do the sadhana bhakti. If not, then karma yoga, and if not, then the philanthropic activities.
Yes, exactly. So Krishna is taking us through a progression, and he starts from the highest, and then he goes lower, and then from the lowest he goes a little higher, and then the meeting point is karma yoga. So let's just go through these 5 verses once again. So in text 8, Krishna says that you just fix your mind upon me. So that's the highest stage in bhakti, complete absorption in Krishna. Then he says, and he also gives a benefit, right? If you do this, then you will live with me, live in me always. Then he says, if you cannot completely absorb your mind in me, then you practice the principles of sadhana bhakti. So he comes one step lower. And then the result of that is what? You will develop a desire to attain me. Then he comes to the next stage. He says, if you can't even do sadhana bhakti, then you engage in karma yoga. So you work for me, Krishna says. So you do your work, but give me the results. So nishkama karma yoga, or even sakama karma yoga, where we give some percentage of the results to Krishna. Maybe not all, but at least some percentage we can give. So he says you engage in the principles of karma yoga. And then he says, if you can't do that, then just work. Okay, in 10, he also gives a result. He says, by doing karma yoga, you will come to the perfect stage. Then in 11, he says, if you can't even work for me, then just work, but give the results. So give the results, but when we give the results not to Krishna, maybe somebody's an atheist, he does not believe in God. if he gives the result, if he is engaging in philanthropic activities, let's say he is helping in an orphanage or old age homes, but he doesn't believe in God. So by that, he will develop detachment at least. So when he develops detachment, then his mind gets purified. And when his mind gets purified, then now he will be able to receive Vedic knowledge. So therefore, this 11 refers to engaging in philanthropic activities or social service activities. But there is no connection with the Lord here. There is no spiritual connection here. Therefore, Krishna in text 11 does not give any result. Because the result is when we do good karma, punya karmas, we can go to the heavenly planets, which is still only a material result. There is no spiritual result. There is no spiritual connection. There is no connection with God. So therefore, in 11, Krishna is not even mentioning what is the result of operating this, because it's a material result. But because he wants to engage everyone, he doesn't want to leave anyone out of his of the options that he's providing to somebody who is in the deep well. Remember the analogy we saw of the well. So therefore, he's extending the rope further and further. And then in 12, he says, if you cannot take to this practice. Now we have to remember that when he says this practice in text 12, he is referring to text 10, not to text 11. Okay. 11 is an offshoot of text 10, because what he's saying in text 10, you do the work and give me the results. And then he says, okay, if you cannot give me the results, at least do the work and give the results. So 11 is like an offshoot of text 10. And in 12, here when he says this, he's referring to text 10. Okay. So then he says, if you cannot engage in karma yoga, then engage yourself in the cultivation of knowledge. So here you can see in the ladder, philanthropy activities is the last, which is text 11. And then he's saying, if you can't do karma yoga, you engage in cultivation of knowledge, which is jnana yoga, which is above philanthropy activities in your ladder. Okay. And then he says, now he's going higher. Okay. He says higher than cultivation of knowledge, better than cultivation of knowledge is meditation. So now he's taking us a step higher, which is dhyana yoga. And then he says, better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. So better than jnana yoga is karma yoga. So again, he's going higher from dhyana yoga to karma yoga. And karma yoga is the meeting point, because karma yoga he mentions in text 10 and 12. So this is the progression in which Krishna is taking us. He's going first from the highest, he takes us lower. But in text 12, again, he's going from lower to higher, and the meeting point is karma yoga. So here is very important that we understand when he says this practice in text 12, he's referring to text 10. If we miss this point, then we will be going in circles and we will not be able to understand. Okay. Can we proceed with today's class?
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, before we start, please repeat Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
You all can see the screen, right?
No.
Yes. No, not yet.
Oh, I didn't share the screen. Now you can see?
Yes.
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 Yes, Mataji.
Okay. We need 2 volunteers to read, please.
Mataji, I can read today. Can I read the Bhagavad Gita purport in translation?
Okay, Sri Hari Radha Mataji, you can read the translation and the other text.
I can read the other text.
Okay, thank you, Disha. Okay, let's see section 3. We'll end this chapter today, and let's see if we can do some of chapter 13. So let's read this.
Section 3, 12.13 to 12.20. Qualities that endear one to Krishna. Possessing divine qualities makes one dear to Krishna. One who faithfully follows the path of devotional service, making Krishna the supreme goal, is very dear to him.
So now in this section, Krishna is going to mention qualities which if one possesses, then one can become very dear to Krishna. So what are these qualities? We will see.
Hare Krishna. Should I read or are we
No.
going to do the text?
No. We want to hear the
Shloka, na?
shloka. 1 second. I have too many windows open here. 1 second. Why am I not getting that screen? This. Okay, 1 second. I need to come out of this.
अद्वेष्टा सर्वभूतानां मैत्रः करुण एव च निर्ममो निरहङ्कारः समदुःखसुखः क्षमी सन्तुष्टः सततं योगी यतात्मा दृढनिश्चयः मय्यर्पितमनो बुद्धिः यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
Okay. Translation: one who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not think himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal to in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant and always satisfied, self-controlled and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me, such a devotee is very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so now Krishna is mentioning qualities that make a devotee very dear to him. What are they? He says, he begins with Adveshta. Adveshta means? You can see non-envious.
Okay, go.
Yeah, non-envious.
Non-envious.
So Adveshta Sarva Bhutanam. He is non-envious towards all the living entities. Sarva Bhutanam. Okay, then he says Maitreya. Maitreya means?
Friendly.
Is friendly. Then he goes on to say Karuna. Karuna means?
Kind.
He's kind. He is kind even to his enemies. Not that he's only kind to his friends. Then Nirmamo. Nirmamo means?
Does not have
no sense of proprietorship.
No sense of proprietorship. He doesn't think that he owns anything. He is aware and he believes that Krishna is the supreme proprietor. So he doesn't think that he owns anything. Then next quality he mentions Nir-ahankara.
Without false ego sense.
Without false ego. So what is the false ego? That I am this body. What is real ego? I am the servant of Krishna. So he is Nir-ahankara. Then Sama, Dukha, Sukha. What does that mean?
Equal to all in all situations.
He is equal in happiness and distress. Then Shami.
forgiving.
He is very forgiving. Yes, if somebody offends him, then he is ready to forgive the person. Next, Santushta.
Satisfied.
Satisfied. When is he satisfied? Santushta Satatam, Krishna said. So he is always satisfied. Irrespective of whether Krishna is keeping him comfortable or Krishna throws him on the street, doesn't matter. He is Santushta Satatam. He is always satisfied. Then Yata Atma. Yatatma means Yata Atma. He is self-control. Yes. Then Drida Nishchaya.
With determination.
With determination. Because he is self-control, because he is Yata Atma, therefore obviously he is also determined. He is not swayed away from Krishna or comes out of Krishna consciousness when there is a little difficulty, when there is some obstacle. He is still determined. Okay. Then, Mai Arpita Mano Buddhir.
Devoted enemy.
Upon me, basically minded with Krishna. One pointed mind with Krishna is in the mind.
Yes, so Mana Buddhi, his mind and intelligence is fixed upon Krishna. Why? Because he is completely convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Krishna ends by saying, Yo mat bhakta sa me priyaha. Such a person, such a devotee is very dear to me. Sa me priyaha. So he is very dear to me. Now he goes on to mention more qualities.
Yasmanno dvijate loko lokanno dvijate च यः हर्षामर्षभयोद्वेगैर् मुक्तो यः स च मे प्रियः.
He by whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety is very dear to me, Hare Krishna.
So now he's saying, Yasman na udvijate, by whom never people are agitated. So he is not causing disturbance to others. People are not agitated because of him. Then neither lokan na udvijate, never is he himself agitated by others. So other people cannot agitate him. Then Krishna says, Harsha Amarsha. Harsha Amarsha means happiness and distress. Then he says, Bhaya and Udvega. Fear, Bhaya means fear. Udvega means anxiety. So fear and anxiety. What about Harsha Amarsha, Bhaya, Udvega? Mukto means he is free. He is free from happiness and distress, and he is free from fear and anxiety, which means he is equipoised under all circumstances. Then Krishna says, Ya sa cha me priyaha. Such a person is very dear to me. More qualities. 16.
अनपेक्षः शुचिर्दक्ष उदासीनो गतव्यथः सर्वारम्भपरित्यागी यो मद्भक्तः स मे प्रियः.
My devotees who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert without cares, free from all pain, and who is striving for some result is very dear to me, Hare Krishna.
Okay, anapeksha. One who is anapeksha. Anapeksha means he is neutral, which means he is not dependent on let's say somebody gives him money or he receives money from some source, then he accepts it. But if he is not able to receive money, then it's not that he gets agitated. So he is neutral. Nothing material can sway him either way. So he's neutral. Okay, anapeksha. Then Krishna says that he is suchi. Suchi means
Pure.
pure. He is pure both internally and externally. Internally, his heart is pure, and externally also his body is clean. He maintains cleanliness externally and internally. Then he says daksha. Daksha means
expert.
He is expert. He knows the essence of all activities. He knows, like we discussed previously, how a devotee is expert even in other philosophies. So therefore, he is able to defeat another person in his own philosophy also. So he is very expert in Shastra. So a devotee is also daksha. He is very expert. Then udasina. Udasina means?
Free from care or chinta, anxiety.
Yes, free from care. So he does not favor or disfavor a particular person. He is free from care, carefree. Then gatavyata. Gatavyata means?
Freed from all distress like dukh or parishani.
Yes, exactly. So he is free from all distress. He doesn't he is not worried about the pain because he knows that he is not this body, that he is spirit soul. Then sarva aramba parityagi.
Of all endeavors, like he doesn't try to get anything. Whatever he gains by Krishna's will is his.
Yes, so he renounces all endeavors. That's how Srila Prabhupada has given a synonym. So he renounces all endeavors means, let's say one constructs a building. Now in constructing a building, there is a lot of effort that goes in. Yes. Now, he may not be willing to go through that effort for a material benefit. But if he has to construct a temple for Krishna, then he is willing to go through that anxiety, the pain, not anxiety, he's free from anxiety, but he is willing to go through all the effort that it requires to construct a building, because that is a building that he's going to construct for Krishna. So, Sarva Arambha Parityagi. Then Krishna ends by saying, Yo Mad Bhakta, such a devotee, Sa Me Priyaha, is very dear to me. More qualities, 17.
Yo na hrishyati na dveshti, na shochati na kankshati, shubha shubha parityagi, bhaktimanya same priyaha.
One who is neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, one and who renounces both assumptuous and inassumptuous things. Such a devotee is very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
So, na harshati na dveshti, which means he doesn't take pleasure, he doesn't rejoice. Na dveshti, he does not even grieve for any material loss or gain. Then no na sochati na kankshati, he doesn't lament, nor does he desire for anything material. Getting a son, getting a follower, getting disciples, getting anything material. So he does not lament, nor does he desire. Then Shubha, Ashubha, Parityagi. He renounces Parityag. He renounces everything that is Shubha and Ashubha, all that is auspicious and inauspicious. So he can take any risk to please Krishna. Nothing is an impediment for him to render devotional service. He's not worried about, oh, this is Ashubh for me, this is Shubh for me. For example, in the pastime of Radha Krishna, there is this pastime where Krishna says that he has a headache, and then Narada Muni goes to different people and he says Krishna has a headache, and his headache will only go if we give him the water of your feet, the water with which the feet have been washed. So everybody says, no, how can we give Krishna that water? Because if we give that, then we will go to hell. But then when Narada Muni approaches the gopis and he approaches Srimati Radharani, the Srimati Radharani he says, oh, he has a headache. Okay, please take, because I want that his headache goes. I'm not worried if I go to hell or have to suffer in hell for millions of years, doesn't matter. But I just want that Krishna's headache goes. So a devotee is not worried about auspicious and inauspicious. All that a devotee wants is that he wants to please Krishna. So then Krishna ends again, he says, Bhaktiman ya sa me priyaha. Such a devotee is very dear to me. Okay, 18 and 19.
Samah shatrau cha mitre cha, tatha manapamanayoh, shitoshna sukha dukkheshu, samah sanga vivarjitah, tulya nindastutir mauni, santushto yena kenachin, aniketa sthiramatihi, bhaktiman me priyo naraha.
One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equiposed in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge, and who is engaged in devotional service. Such a person is very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
So sama means equal. So Krishna is saying one who is equal in what circumstances? Shatrucha mitrecha. He is equal to his enemy and to his friend. Tatha also mana apamana. So when he receives honor and also when he receives dishonor. So he is equal in honor and dishonor. Mana apamana yo. Then Sita Usna, cold and heat. Then he says Sukha Dukkeshu Sama. Also he is equipoised Sama in Sukha and Dukkha, in happiness and distress. Then Krishna says Sangha Vivarjitaha. He is free from bad association. He is free from contaminating association. He doesn't associate with sinful people. Then he says Tulya in Ninda and Stuti. Tulya means equal. So when he is equal in Ninda and in Stuti, in criticism and in praise. when he's defamed or when he has good reputation, still either cases he is equal. Then Mauni, silent. Now, what does that mean? Does it mean that a devotee should not speak? He should always remain silent. He should perform, he should practice Mauna Vrata. What does that mean, silent?
Silent means
Only when
talk about Krishna. Silent means not to have a silent woe, but silent means speak only of Krishna, like Prabhupada's tongue did, his voice did,
Yes,
his words did.
yes, exactly. So silent means that he speaks about Krishna, he speaks for Krishna, he speaks to preach about Krishna. He doesn't speak nonsense. He's not interested in discussing Bollywood, cricket, stuff like that. So Mauni, he's silent. He doesn't speak nonsense. And then Shantushta, satisfied. Yena kenachit. Yena kenachit, with anything and everything, he is satisfied. Santushta. Then Aniketaha. Aniketaha means he has no residence. What does it mean he has no residence? It means that he does not care for any residence. If Krishna provides him a residence, then fine. If Krishna doesn't provide him with a residence, if he's on the street, also fine. So he doesn't care about having a particular residence. Then Sthira, he is fixed in his devotional practices. Mati, determined. He's also determined in his devotional practices. So you will see that there are some qualities which are repeated in these verses, which only means that Krishna is stressing even more on these qualities. And then Krishna says Bhaktiman. Bhaktiman, one who is engaged in devotional service. Then Krishna says, Me Priyo Nara, such a person. Nara means man, such a person is very dear to me. Me Priyo Nara. Now let's come. So here's a summary. Okay, let's read this.
Focus of learning, purpose 12.19. One who wants to be recognized as devotee should develop all good qualifications. Of course, one does not extraneously endeavor to acquire these qualifications because engagement in Krishna consciousness and devotional service automatically helps one develop them. One who is not a devotee has no good qualifications.
So say one who is a devotee, he automatically has these qualities, right? A non-devotee does not have these qualities or these qualifications. Now, one does not have to endeavor separately to acquire these qualifications. Why? Because once one starts to engage in devotional service, as we engage in devotional service, automatically we acquire those qualities. We don't have to make a separate effort to develop those qualities. It's like a side effect. You do devotional service, automatically these qualities develop in a person. So these qualities fall in two categories, essential and ancillary. So essential means they are always present, and ancillary means sometimes they are present and sometimes they are not present. All these qualities that we saw in all these verses, they all come under the category of ancillary. But the last quality that Krishna mentions, Bhaktiman, here we saw Bhaktiman, the last quality in verse 19. That quality is essential quality, devotional service to the Lord. When we do this devotional service to the Lord, then automatically we develop all other qualities. So Swarupa Lakshana and Tathastha Lakshana. Okay, let's see the summary of this section.
Summarize theme 12b, qualities of pure devotees, 2.13 through 12.19. Classified summary of qualities that endear one to Krishna. A. Attitude towards oneself. Nirmama, free from sense of proprietorship, free from false ego, knows that I am not the body. Gata Vyataha, pain free. Sarvaramba Parityagi, free from all endeavors. B. Dealings with other living entities. Non-envious, kind to everyone, even to his enemy. Equal to friends and enemies. Udasina, without cares. Always free from contaminating association. Silence.
So you see here the qualities are divided into categories. Okay, so attitude towards self, then there are these qualities. Dealings with other entities, then there are qualities. So here in this summary, these qualities have been divided into different categories.
Classified summary of qualities that endear one to Krishna. Continuation. C. Reaction when things happen to him. Satisfied, self-controlled, completely perfect, mystic, tolerant, equipoised in happiness and distress, anapeksha, neutral, suchi, pure, daksha, expert, neither rejoices nor grieves over material gain or loss, neither laments nor desires, transcendental in face of all kinds of auspicious, inauspicious, and sinful acts, equipoised in dualities, does not care for any residence. D. Dealings with the Lord. Determined, mind and intelligence fixed entirely on the Supreme Lord, engaged in devotional service, fixed.
Okay, so now we come to the last verse of this chapter. Krishna concludes here. Let's see what he says.
ये तु धर्मामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते श्रद्धाना मत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः ॐ तत्सदिति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासूपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे भक्तियोगो नाम द्वादशोऽध्यायः।
Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engages themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Hare Krishna.
So see, in the previous verses, Krishna said that such a person is very dear to me, such a devotee is very dear to me. But here he's saying such a person is very, very dear to me. Ativa me priyaha, very, very dear. So what kind of a person is very, very dear to Krishna? Let's see what he says. What is he saying? Ye tu dharma amritam idam. Those who follow this nectar, this path of devotional service. Then he says, paryupasate shraddha dana, with they engage in this with complete faith. Then mat parama, making me the supreme goal. Bhaktas, such devotees, te ativa me priyaha, such a person is very, very dear to me. So Krishna is concluding by saying that one who is engaging in Krishna, is completely engaging in devotional service with faith, making him the supreme goal, making Krishna the supreme goal, such a person is very, very dear to me. Okay, this we already discussed. So see here is the point. There is also a Shastric reference from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where we have evidence that if one engages in devotional service, then one automatically develops the qualities that Krishna has mentioned. Okay, so this is from the Bhagavatam. Let's read the translation.
All the demigods and their excellences qualities such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation become manifested in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional services engaged in material activities has no good qualities, even if he is adapted to the practice of mystic yoga or the honesty endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives. He must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy, which is Maya. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? Hare Krishna.
So see, one who engages in unalloyed devotion, one who engages in pure bhakti, akinchana, no? This is the word akinchana, without any motive, then in the body of that person, automatically all the demigods and the qualities of the demigods automatically become manifest in the body of that person. So again, the same point, we don't have to separately endeavor to develop those qualities. If we just engage in devotional service, automatically these qualities will become manifest. And I'm sure that those of you who have started chanting would have already seen some changes, right? not all of you have expressed, but some of you have expressed to me how after chanting, they don't get angry so easily like before anymore, or they don't really think it's a big deal when somebody offends them anymore, which previously they would think that, oh, this is a big thing. So what happens is when we engage in devotional service, it's like we are on this airplane, transcendental airplane, which is taking us higher and higher. So because our consciousness is going higher, then the other things, the other materialistic things seem very trivial to us. It doesn't matter anymore. So like how when we are on an airplane, right? When we are down on the ground, the trees and the people, they seem so much bigger, the mountains, everything looks big. But when we are on an airplane, they look so tiny and insignificant. So in the same way, when we engage in devotional service, because we are getting to a higher platform, our consciousness is raising, then these other things, these other petty things, materialistic things, they seem very petty and unimportant. And this we can definitely realize as we engage in devotional service. And the more we engage in devotional service, the more we will see the changes happening without separately endeavoring to, oh, I have to work on controlling my anger. No, we don't have to work on that aspect. If we engage in devotional service, automatically it happens. Okay, let's read this purport by Srila Prabhupada.
In this chapter, from verse 2 through the end, from my aveshya mano ye mam, fixing the mind on me, through ye tu dharmam mritam idam, this religion of eternal engagement, the Supreme Lord has explained the processes of transcendental service for approaching him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and he accepts the person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna, and the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the Personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association, one develops attachment for pure devotional service and thereby accepts the bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self-realization, for the attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self-realization. See, a person who's in the mode of goodness, he can have all those qualities that Krishna has mentioned. But the quality bhaktiman, right, that is not in the mode of goodness. That is in the transcendental mode of goodness, it is in the Shuddha Sattva stage. So mode of goodness is Sattva Guna, passion is Rajo Guna, and ignorance is Tamo Guna. But devotional service is not even in the mode of goodness. It is not even in the Sattva Guna. It is in the Shuddha Sattva state, which is the transcendental mode of goodness. So all the qualities that Krishna mentioned, even a person who's in the mode of goodness can possess. But that quality Bhaktiman, which he mentions at the end of the 19th verse, that quality is only for the devotees. So that is even beyond the mode of goodness.
Conclusion. Krishna is satisfied only by devotion, never by material qualities. Bhakti is the most efficacious method of spiritual advancement. One engaged in Bhakti Yoga exhibits transcendental qualities which mark him as a devotee. The Lord is pleased with such a devotee. Chapter 12, verse by verse summary. Verse 1. This chapter, like most others, begins with a question by Arjuna. Although Krishna has previously established worship of his personal form as the supreme mode of worship and devotion to him as the highest yoga, Arjuna now wants to make sure he has fully understood. In the first verse, therefore, he asks Krishna to state whom he considers more perfect, those engaged in his devotional service or the worshippers of the unmanifest Brahman, the impersonal, the all-pervasive feature of Krishna. Verse 2, Krishna replies, he whose mind is fixed on my personal form always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith, is considered by me to be most perfect. Verses 3 to 5. Krishna tells Arjuna that the worshippers of the impersonal conception of the absolute truth eventually achieve him, but because this is an indirect process, it is much more difficult. Verses 6 through 7. He assures Krishna that for those fixed in pure devotion to him, he is the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. Verse 8. He instructs Arjuna to fix his mind and intelligence on him, and by this simple method, attain him. Verses 9 through 12. For those unable to fix their attention spontaneously and undeviatingly upon him, Krishna explains the indirect process by which they can attain that state by gradual steps: renunciation of the fruits of action, karma phala tyaga, to cultivation of knowledge, jnana, proceeding to mediation, dhyana, to sacrifice of the fruits of work to him, karma yoga, and finally to the execution of the regulative remedial principles of bhakti yoga, sadhana bhakti. Verses 13 through 20. In the final section of the chapter, Krishna relates the qualities and characteristics of his pure devotee, repeating at the end of each description that such a devotee is very dear to me. The devotee is free from material desires, material dualities, and false ego. Finally, Krishna concludes saying that he who makes him the supreme goal of life and engages in his service with faith is very, very dear to him.
Okay, so this is a correction I have to make here in verse 9 to 12. That's not mediation in the fourth line, it's meditation. Okay, so that's a spelling mistake. All right, so with this, we come to the end of chapter 12 by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and by the mercy of Krishna. We end this chapter and we also end the Bhakti section of the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Does anybody have a question from chapter 12?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki Jai. Thank you Mataji. Hare Bol, Jai Jai Nityananda, Jai Jai Gauranga. Shri Bhagavad Gita ki Jai.
Jai
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so are we ready for chapter 13?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 marks the beginning of the final section, the Jnana section of the Bhagavad Gita. This is considered by many devotees to be the most technical chapter of the Gita, but we will try to simplify it as much as possible. This is titled Nature, the Enjoyer, and Consciousness. It has a total of 35 verses. But of course, as always, before we begin the chapter, let's see why we read this chapter. What is the benefit? No, normally people say, what's in it for me? So what is the benefit of reading, reciting, learning, hearing this particular chapter? Okay, so Lord Shiva tells to Parvati that in South India, there was a very large river by the name Tungabhadra, and on its banks was a town called Hariharpur. And in this town of Hariharpur, there was a deity of Lord Shiva that was worshipped. And it was considered that the worship and darshan of this deity of Lord Shiva is very, very auspicious. Now in Hariharpur, there also lived a very learned Brahmana by the name Hari Dikshit. This Brahmana Hari Dikshit was very simple and very austere, but his wife is not simple and austere. And she was called Durachara. She was called Durachara by the people because of her low class activities. Now, what are the low class activities that she engaged in? It is described that she spoke to her husband in very abusive language. She was rude to her husband's friends, and she would keep company with other men to fulfill her lusty desires. And she also took various kinds of intoxicants. Now, in order to fulfill her lusty desires, somewhere in the middle of a forest, she had created a structure. She had built a structure where she would meet with other men and fulfill her lusty desires in the middle of the forest. Now, one night, she was feeling very lusty, and she was not able to find a partner who could fulfill her lust. So she went to the forest, to this meeting place, and to see by luck if she can meet any of her lovers there, if somebody was present there by chance. But she didn't find anyone. Now she was burning with lust, and she started to wander in the forest, hoping to find someone who can satisfy her. Now all of a sudden in the forest, a tiger appears before her, and the tiger is about to rip her apart. He wants to eat her. But she starts to speak to the tiger, and she asks the tiger, "Why have you come here to kill me? First you tell me the reason, then you can kill me." So now the tiger also begins to speak to her, and the tiger begins to narrate his story. The tiger says that in south there was a river called Malapaha, and on the banks of this river there was a town called Muniparna, and in that place a famous deity of Lord Shiva called Panchalinga was worshipped. And in that town, this tiger had taken birth in a Brahmana family. Now, although he was born in a high class Brahmin family, he was very greedy and he had no control over his senses. So he would perform yagyas. Because he is in a Brahmin family, he knew how to perform yagyas, but he would perform yagyas even in the houses of people who are not qualified. And he would eat in the house of materialistic people, and he would collect funds more than necessary for the yagyas. And he would use the excess funds for his own sense gratification. And he would also criticize Brahmins, other Brahmins who were strictly following the regulative principles. He would also criticize them greatly. And he never gave in charity. So remember, the Brahmin, he receives funds in charity, but if he receives excess, then he has to use that also in the service of the Lord. But he used to use it for his own sense gratification, and he never gave anything in charity. So like this, he lived his life until one day he was very old, and still his lust and greed for money didn't go away. And one day he goes to collect funds from the house of somebody else, and it so happened that the house from where he went to collect funds by mistake, they were also cruel Brahmins, and they set loose dogs to chase him. So the dog bit his leg, he fell over very quickly, and he died. And after that, he got the body of a tiger, and he's living in the forest. Because of his past karma, he lost his human birth. He lost his high Brahmin human birth, and now he's born as a tiger. But because he did some austerity, so therefore he had the facility to remember his past life. So in the body of a tiger, he is able to remember his past life as this Brahmin. And he says that because he's able to remember his past birth, he does not attack any person who's pious. He only attacks people who are sinful. So therefore he says that you are a very sinful woman, you are very unchaste, and therefore certainly I will eat you. And then he devours the woman. Okay, now what happens to this lady? What's her name? What was her name? Durachara. So now Durachara has died, and she goes to the kingdom of Yamaraj. And then the Yamaraj gives her the sentence, no? And now she's supposed to stay in a hell called Duyada. Now Duyada is a hellish planet which is full of stool, urine, and blood. And she has to stay in that filthy place for 10 million kalpas. This is the judgment passed by Yamaraj. What is the duration of one kalpa? What is one kalpa in connection with Lord Brahma?
It's 1 day.
Yes, one kalpa is 1 day of Lord Brahma. So 1 day of Lord Brahma is how many billions of years? Does anybody remember?
10
million.
1 day of Brahma is how many billions of years?
Total of 4 yugas into 100?
Into 1,000.
Into 1,000, and yeah, into 1,000 is 1 day, right?
Yes, that's 1 day. So that comes to 4,320,000,000 years. That multiplied by 10 million. Okay, so for 10 million kalpas, she has to stay in this hellish planet, which is full of stool, urine, and blood. And after that, after she finishes her term there, then she has to go to another hellish planet called Raurava, where she has to stay for 100 Manwantara. What is the duration of one Manwantara? the period of one Manu is one Manvantara. So one Manvantara is equal to 71 Divya Yugas. What is the duration of one Divya Yuga? All the 4 yugas put together is one Divya Yuga. So for 71 Divya Yugas, that is one Manvantara. And for 100 Manvantara, she has to stay in the other hellish planet called Raurava. So see the high price that she had to pay for being unchaste. Whether man or woman, this is the karmic reaction. Okay, so after this, after she has finished her sentence in both these hellish planets for so many billions and trillions of years, she now takes birth on earth as a female Chandala. And again, she begins to live her life in the same way as she was living previously. So the lusty desires have not gone from her heart, despite suffering in those hellish planets for so many years. So see, the heart cannot be purified by punishment, because the desire to engage in sinful activities also does not go away. That can go away only by engaging in devotional service. Punishment does not take away the impurity of the heart. So anyway, now she is again committing, living as she previously lived in her previous lifetime as the female Chandala. And due to her sinful activities, now in the current body itself, she develops leprosy and tuberculosis. And now in this condition, in this diseased condition, she goes to a town called Hariharpur. And there she comes close to a temple of Jambaka Devi. Jambaka Devi is none other than goddess Parvati. And now in this temple, she comes across one great saint called Vasudev. And this great saint Vasudev every day recites a particular chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Can you guess which chapter of the Bhagavad Gita he recites?
13.
13th chapter, yes, 13th chapter. So every day he is reciting the 13th chapter of the Gita. And she gets attracted to that reading, to that recitation. And she starts to hear that recitation over and over and over again. And just by hearing the recitation of the 13th chapter of the Gita, she is able to give up the body of a Chandala, and she becomes free from all the reactions of her past sinful activities. And she attains a 4-armed form similar to that of Lord Vishnu and is taken to Vaikuntha. So just see, in this case, she has only heard the recitation of the 13th chapter. She has not even recited it herself. Just by hearing it, she has become purified. So Lord Shiva tells to Parvati, let's read this.
Lord Shiva to Parvati. She, Durachara, saw the great saint Vasudeva, who was always reciting the 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. From his mouth, she heard that recitation, and becoming attracted, she heard it again and again, and by that hearing, she was able to give up that body of a Chandala and become completely free from the reactions of her past sinful activities. She attained a 4-armed form similar to Lord Vishnu, and she was taken to Vaikuntha.
Okay, Vaikuntha. What does that name Vaikuntha mean?
No anxiety.
No anxiety, exactly. Kuntha means anxiety and Vai means no. So Vaikuntha is that place which is completely free from all anxieties. Very nice. Okay. So as we know, Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters, middle 6 chapters, and the last 6 chapters. First 6 chapters, karma section, where we saw how to achieve bhakti through one's works. So how karma can lead to bhakti. Middle section deals exclusively with bhakti. And the last section, which we are beginning today, shows how to achieve bhakti through knowledge, through jnana. So let's see this comparison of the 3 sections.
Comparison of knowledge in the 3 sections of the Bhagavad Gita from purport 13.1. First 6 chapters discusses the knower of the body and the position by which he can understand the Supreme Lord. Middle 6 chapters discusses the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul in regards to devotional service. It describes the superior position of Krishna and the subordinate position of the living entity. 4 kinds of pious men who approach the Lord. Last 6 chapters explains how the living entity comes in contact with the material nature. Explains how living entity is delivered by the Lord through different methods.
Okay, let's see the connection.
If Bhakti is the culmination of the yoga ladder, why is Jnana presented after the section of Bhakti? In text 12.7, Lord Krishna promised to save his devotees from the path of birth and death. Chapters 13 to 18 fulfill this promise by supplying the philosophical knowledge necessary to extricate oneself from material entanglement. Jnana has its use in assisting our detachment from Maya and our subsequent attachment to Krishna. When we utilize knowledge as a means to attain devotion, it becomes a part of Bhakti. Without the touch of Bhakti, both karma and jnana are useless. This is another reason why the discussion of Bhakti comes in the middle of Bhagavad Gita, where it can remain in contact with both karma and jnana and thus lend them value and giving them life. Bhakti is rahasya, very secret. It is the essence of all scriptures. It is most important, and the most important is kept in the middle. For example, the king traveling with his army is always in the middle, protected.
So the connection between chapter 12 and chapter 13 is text 12.7. If you may recall, in the 7th shloka of chapter 12, Krishna says that he's a swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death for one who engages in devotional service. So obviously, we need knowledge, we need philosophical knowledge in order to come out of this material entanglement. So therefore, this section here, Krishna is going to focus on how jnana can lead to bhakti. So this is the connection between chapter 12, or rather the middle section and the last section, 12.7. Now one may also ask, if bhakti is the culmination of the yoga ladder. So when we did the yoga ladder, we saw that bhakti is right on top. So one may say if bhakti is the topmost, then why is it in the middle? Why is it not towards the end of the Gita? So here Prabhupada explains that how karma and jnana are useless without the touch of bhakti. So what bhakti does, when bhakti is in the center, it lends a value to both karma and jnana. Therefore, bhakti is in the center. Also, as we read, the most precious object or the most precious person or thing is always protected from both the sides. Therefore, bhakti is in the center because it is the most precious amongst all yoga systems. Okay, bhakti yoga is higher than any other yoga system. Karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. Okay, so this chapter has 35 shlokas and it is divided into 5 sections. It begins with Arjuna asking 6 questions. And Krishna here, very interestingly, is not answering Arjuna's questions in the same order in which he is asking. So that also we will discuss. Why does he not answer it in the same order as the questions? Okay, let's read a summary of the section 1.
Section 1, 13.1 through 13.7. Arjuna's 6 questions in Krishna explains the field of activities and the knower of the field. Text 13.2 through 13.7 answers the 3rd, 4th, and 5th question. Krishna explains the fields of activities as the body by which the soul engages within his allotted sphere of activities within the material world. The soul, the knower of the field, has knowledge of his own fields of activities. Krishna, as the super soul, is the knower of all fields of activities of all living entities. Knowledge is to know the field and its knowers.
So Arjuna is asking 6 questions and Krishna immediately answers 3rd, 4th, and 5th. So he's not answering 1 and 2 first. He's answering 3, 4, and 5 first. So what are the questions and what are the answers? We will see here. Okay, I need to get my audio of the other 13th chapter. 1 second.
अथ त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञमेव च एतद्वेदितुमिच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः.
Arjun said, "Oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti. nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field, and the knower of the field and of knowledge, and at the end of knowledge, and the end of knowledge. The blessed Lord said, This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. Hare Krishna.
So what are Arjuna's 6 questions? What does he want to know? He wants to know about Prakriti, Purusha, Kshetra, Kshetragya, Jnana, and Nyeya. So what is Prakriti? Nature. Purusha, the enjoyer. So he wants to know about Prakriti and Purusha, the nature and the enjoyer, which Krishna is not going to answer immediately. And then he says he wants to know about the Kshetra and the Kshetragya. Kshetra, the field, and the Kshetragya is the knower of the field. And then he wants to know Jnana and Nyeya, knowledge. Where is that? And Nyeya, the object of knowledge. Okay, so what does Krishna say? Immediately Krishna is answering. What is Kshetra? What is the field? So he says that this body is the field. So our body, that is the field of activities. We will see the details later. For now, Krishna is answering, what is Kshetra? Kshetra, Krishna says, that is this body. The body is the field. And who is Kshetragya? Who is the knower of the body? He says the individual soul. Okay, we are the knower of this body. So that is Kshetra and Kshetragya. Knower of the body means what? We know what is going on in our body, isn't it? If we have a pain, an ache, a headache, something is not right, there is acidity, whatever is going on in our body, we know. So we are the knower of the body, or we are the knower of the field. So this body is the field, and the soul is the knower of the field, because we know what is going on in our body. This is Krishna's answer so far. So here's a summary. Let's see.
Text 13.1. Arjuna asks 6 questions about the following subject matters. 1. Prakriti, material nature. 2. Purusha, the enjoyer of matter. 3. Kshetra, field in which one can act within the material world. 4. Kshetragyana, entity which experiences the field of action. 5. Jnana, knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge. 6. Jnayam, object of knowledge. Text 13.2. Krishna answers about the Kshetra and Kshetranya. This answers Arjuna's 3rd and 4th question. This body is called the field, Kshetra. One who knows his body is called the knower of the field, Kshetranya.
So the field is the body. Now, just as on the field, one has crops. One can grow good crops and bad crops. Same way, the body has some experiences, good experiences and bad experiences. Okay, Tejal, I think you need to mute. Okay. So the field is the body, Krishna says. Yes, and just as on the field we have good crops and bad crops, in the body we have good experiences and bad experiences. When we are healthy, when we are young, we have good experiences. When we are sick and diseased, we may have bad experiences. Now, what does, on what does this depend? Whether we have good experience or bad experience, or on what does the crop depend on? It depends on the kind of seed that is sown. If we sow good quality seed, then we will get good crops. If we sow a bad quality seed, we will get bad crops. So in the same way, what is the seed that we are sowing to have a good body or good experience in a body or a bad experience is our activities. The experiences that we have in this lifetime is a result of the activities that we have done in the past. The seeds have been sown in the past for our current experiences. So if somebody is going through a lot of struggle or is not having a good experience, is because of one's own past karma. We cannot blame anyone else for it except ourselves. So see the analogy, what Krishna is saying. The field, the kshetra, is the body. And the kshetragya is the knower of the body, which is us. Okay, so, and on what factor determines whether we have good experience or bad experience is the past actions. That is compared to the seed. Okay, let's read this.
Focus of learning, purpose 13.1 through 13.2. A. Body as the field of activity. For whom? For the conditioned soul. Why does he get this field? Soul is entrapped in material existence because of his attempts to lord it over. Criteria to decide which body. According to the capacity to dominate material energy. According to the capacity to enjoy sense gratification, one gets a particular body to function accordingly. B. Kshetranya. How to understand the difference between the body and the knower of the body. Based on changing phases of the body is constantly changing from childhood to old age, but one remains the same person. Dehino asmin. Intuitive understanding. Although we may use many articles, we are different from the body and those articles. We may think, I am happy, I am man, etc. These are bodily designations of the knower.
Okay, so body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul, because it is in this body that we are carrying out our activities in the material world, right? Condition means we are, the word condition means we behave in a particular way according to the kind of body we have. For example, if we have the body of a dog, then the dog is going to bark, right? If we have the body of a pig, then we are going to eat stool and we are going to think it's great. So we are conditioned according to the body we have. So body is the field of activity in this material world. Why do we get this field? Because we desire to enjoy independently from Krishna. Because of our attempt to lord it over, we want to become the masters. Criteria to decide which body. Now, which body we are going to get? Are we going to get a human body, the body of an ant? Are we going to get the body of Brahma? According to the capacity to dominate material energy and capacity to enjoy sense gratification. Now, in the body of a demigod, there is greater capacity to dominate material energy. There is greater capacity to enjoy sense gratification. In the body of a human being, it's a little less. In the body of the animals, it's even less. Animals, birds, they cannot dominate material energy as much as human beings. Human beings cannot dominate as much as the demigods. So which body we get? What is the criteria? These are the two criteria. Now, so much for the body. Now, Kshetragya, the knower of the body, is the soul. So we have to understand the difference between the body and the soul. How do we know that the soul is present in the body? There are two symptoms. One is consciousness and the other is growth. When the soul is present in the body is conscious, right? Otherwise, it's a dead body. And when the soul is there in the body is growing. The body is changing. The body grows from childhood to youth to old age. So the body is growing because the soul is present. If there is no soul, the body is not going to grow. The body of a child is not going to grow into a young man if the soul is absent. So by these two things, we know that the soul is present. So, okay, coming back to our thing. So we may think that I am happy, I am man, but these are bodily designations. This is when we identify with the body, then we say that I am man, I'm woman, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm young, I'm old. These are all bodily designations. The soul does not identify with these things. Now, okay, let's read this, because this verse from the Bhagavatam is going to talk about what we just read, about how we get the body. What is the field that we are going to get for our activities? Let's read the translation.
Personality of Godhead, serenity, supreme supervision of the Supreme Lord, and according to the result of his work, the living entity, the soul, is made to enter into the womb of a woman through the particular of male, assume a particular type of body. Hare Krishna.
So karmana daiva netrena. See the second line in the shloka. Karmana. So according to the karma and daiva netrena, under the divine supervision. So under these two things, according to our past activities and under divine supervision, it's not that it is independent. Then what happens? The soul is made to enter into the womb of a woman. Striya Pravishta udaram. Udaram means womb. Striya is woman. So Striya Pravishta means enter. The soul is made to enter into the womb of the woman through what? Through Pumsha Reta Kanashraya, through the particle of male semen. The soul is made to enter into the womb of a woman. So this woman may be the female, the Striya may be that of a pig or dog, or it can be any body, okay, from the tree body up to the demigod body. So based on karma and daiva netrena, these two factors determine what is the field of activity that we are going to get, what kind of body we are going to get. So now based on this, if you want to ensure that your child is a devotee, what should you do and where should you begin? What is the most proactive way? Now the word proactive means what? Proactive means we are creating a particular situation. The opposite of proactive is reactive. Reactive means we are just reacting to a situation that is already present. Okay, so you want to make things happen instead of reacting to a particular thing that is already present. So what is a proactive way of ensuring that your child is a devotee? Where should you begin is the question. Let's see the options. Do we train our child when the child is an adult?
No.
No, because you can train, but it's going to be that much more harder. It's going to be that much more difficult. For example, if somebody wants their child to become, become a very good dancer, at what age are we going to start training the child? When the child is an adult, are we going to train the child to become a dancer? It's going to be that much more difficult, isn't it? We say that you train when the child is still young. Yes. So same thing applies even for devotion. So this is a misconception that bhakti should not be followed when one is young. We say, no, oh, our children are still young. When they grow big, they can become devotees. When they grow big, they can take to bhaktis. No, it's going to be that much more harder to train them when they are adults. So can we train our child when they are in their teens? Is that the most proactive way? No. No. Train your child when he is in his boyhood, still in his boyhood, not yet reached teenage. Is that a good age?
No.
Childhood, Mataji.
It's better than teenage and adulthood, isn't it? Boyhood. But there can be anything better than boyhood?
Yes.
What's that?
When the child is a baby.
When the child
Wormhood.
is still a toddler.
Wormhood. It should be trained in wormhood.
In
Yes,
the womb.
Haribal.
Yes, exactly. Then educate your child when the child is in the womb. Is that the most proactive way? Can it be better than that?
Yes, this is best way.
This is the best way. So this is the best option amongst the options that are there on the screen. Is there a better way than even before the child is in the womb?
Yes.
Yes.
The parents themselves are devotees.
Yes, exactly. See, because when the child is in the womb, the child has already entered the womb of the female based on his karma. See, in this, we saw, no, based on karma and under divine supervision, the soul is made to enter the womb of a woman. So when the child is in the womb, already that soul is carrying the baggage of the karma from its previous lifetimes. That is already there in the womb of the woman. The soul has already carried the baggage. So the woman already has a child who already has a certain karmic account attached to it. So what is better than this? That the time of conception should be planned. The consciousness of the parents should already be inclined to devotion when the man and the woman meet. So then they attract a particular soul which will carry its past karma, which is more suitable for devotional service. So let's read this last paragraph.
The process of what qualities the child will have is decided when the soul is invited into the womb. The timing of conception is the most proactive way of ensuring that the child is a devotee. After that, all is patchwork. Struggle of the parents is much less for parents if last option is taken.
Okay, so after that, everything is only passive because then we are only reacting to a situation that is already present, right? Educating your child in the womb as a toddler, in his boyhood, teens, adult. Here we are all only reacting to a situation that is already present because a child in the womb has already brought its baggage of karma. So therefore, these are only reactive ways. Okay, the first options are all reactive ways. The last option is the most proactive way. Therefore, that's why we have the Garbhadana Samskara in our Shastra, which ensures that a good soul can be attracted into the womb of the mother. Now, if you read this chapter from the Srimad Bhagavatam, pregnancy of Diti in the evening. Now, Diti she had the desire to unite with her husband, Kashyapa Muni, and her husband told her that this is not an auspicious time. This is not the time that we should unite, which was the Sandhya period. Okay, the time when the day and the night meet, the Sandhya period. And he tells her that this is not an auspicious time, but she insisted and he obliged. And therefore, then Diti was pregnant and she gave birth to Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. Okay. Therefore, it's so important that the time of union and the conscience of the parents during the union is auspicious so as to attract a good soul into the womb. This is a very interesting chapter. You can read it from the Bhagavatam when you have free time. So when is an auspicious time and when is an inauspicious time? Let's read.
Samskara for having a child. Inauspicious times to avoid. The first 4 nights of the menses, or 6. The main thing is that the menses should have ended, which could be longer for some women. The 11th and 13th nights from the start of the menses, and one is not supposed to go past the 16th night. The remaining 10 days, 5 to 10, 12, 14 to 16, are suitable provided they do not fall on those lunar tithis which are broken. Shuddha Ekadashi, days of vows, vrata, or fasting days, full moon and new moon. During Ashtami Tithi and Chaturdashi Tithi, the 8th and 14th Tithis of each fortnight, when one of the 2 spouses is weak or sick, as soon as the wife becomes pregnant, during the Sandhya periods or junctures of the day, and this also includes midnight. The main thing about samskara is that one should be very Krishna conscious, of course, and the rituals involved are meant to create a lasting spiritual impression in the chitta, consciousness, which will impact upon the time of jiva, which one attracts as one's child. Of course, it is not only that impacts. The karma of the parents is also very important.
So these are the times when one should avoid and the times when one can unite to attract an auspicious soul. And those days, 5 to 10, 12, 14, and 12, 14, 15, and 16, these are the days where one can unite. But during these days of the menstrual cycle, if it falls on an Ekadasi, if it falls on an Ashtami, if it falls on a Chaturdashi, if it falls on Amavasya, if it falls on Purnima, then it's not suitable for union. So if one unites during this time and with the consciousness, okay, the consciousness of the parents also is very important, then one can attract a very good soul. See, there are 5 kinds of children. This I have heard from my spiritual master, that not all children are going to give us bliss, isn't it? There are children who also give us distress, because sometimes a child, our child may be, we have got the child because of our bad karma and we have to suffer. So therefore we have a particular child to pay off some bad karma. Sometimes a child may be someone whom we owed money to in our previous lifetime. And now the child has come to extract that money from us. That entity has come to extract that money from us. That's why sometimes there are children on whom parents have to spend a lot of money due to health issues or any other issues. Sometimes the children may be an enemy from our previous lifetime who come to trouble us in this lifetime. Some children are super children. No? They will do all the ceremonies for you after you have passed away. So they do the samskaras, no, the antim samskara. And some children are neutral. They are not in your favor, nor are they against you. They are completely detached. So they are neutral. So these are the 5 kinds of children. And if we want a good child, then we have to follow the Garbhadhana samskara. What is the modern system? Honeymoon culture. Just go on a honeymoon. There is no consideration what time, who is uniting, and we don't know what kind of child is coming into our womb. Okay, I think we'll stop here. We'll continue in the next class. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Actually, Srinam Mataji ke jai, Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Vanchakalpatarupasya Kupasindamaya vacha. Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Grunth ki jai. Namacharya Das Thakur ki jai. Thank you, actually, Srinam Mataji ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for your deep devotional association. Hare Krishna, Koti Koti Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. So next week we have our joint class with Prabhu Nirantara Dasa. Please don't miss it. Hopefully this time Krishna will sanction it. And then after that we will continue with chapter number 13. Till then, have a nice week.
Mataji, can I request one request to you?
Yes, Mataji.
Mataji, can you please make a 2 group together so that you get a more time to preach Krishna conscious to little kids and Bal Gopi and Bal Gopala? We all will comfortable in a morning class if everybody is comfortable, so that you save that 2 hours so you can use in a little kids seva.
Okay, thank you, Mataji, for thinking about me. What we'll do is we'll discuss. I'll ask each one from slot 2 if they can make it, because even today, not everybody from slot 2 has joined in the morning. So I don't know if it will be suitable for everyone. So what I'll do is I'll ask them individually, and if everyone agrees, then we can join both the batches. Otherwise, we will continue. It's anyway another 4 or 5 months only. So we'll see if everybody can join, then we will do what you're saying. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sri Hari Radha Mataji, for your reading, and also Disha for your reading. Disha, I must congratulate you on your Sanskrit pronunciation. It's spot on this time. Today it was very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so anything we need to discuss? Monday is Ekadasi, both in India and as well as here in this part of the world. So have a nice Ekadasi on Monday, all of you. Or anything we need to discuss before we log out?
Oh, Ekadashi is on Monday, Mataji?
Yes, on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Happy Ekadashi to you as well.
Thank you.
Mataji, next Saturday it's the same time, right? 10:30.
Yes, same time. For 1 hour, we will have our class because he will join us 8:30 his time, which will be 9 p.m. India time, 12:30. So today's class, we will begin at the same time as today. 1 hour, we will have our Gita class, and then he will join us for the second half, for the second 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay,
Hare
thank you. Take care,
Thank you.
everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare
Koti Koti
Krishna,
Dandavat
Mataji.
Pranam.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.